Um, okay, so here we are. We're coming into chapter 4 of Tanya, and it's a very fun chapter. I mean, fun. I don't know, fun. What I wanted to say is could change your life kind of a chapter. So if I would tell you briefly what's in it, and then once I give you the cliff notes or the synopsis, then afterwards we'll go inside. So basically we've been looking at the structure of the soul, and we started off chapter 1 speaking about the fact that a person has to try to be righteous, and every soul upon birth is given this oath that they should be righteous and not a rasha. And then we investigate, why would a person who's fulfilled that oath ever be anything less than righteous? And then we started speaking about the fact that a person has two different souls. They have the animal soul and they have the godly soul. And then when we looking at the godly soul, we started dividing up the godly soul, and we spoke about the fact that it has different aspects to it. It has a nefesh, a ruach, a neshama, and then we spoke about on every level of the soul, on the level of nefesh, which is the soul connected to bodily awareness, and on the level of ruach, which is the aspect of soul connected to emotions, and on the level of neshama, which is the soul connected to cognitive and conscious thought. And all of those souls, whenever we move from an aspect of an idea, whenever there's going to be any action or any emotion, in other words, we want to know, how do we cultivate good emotion and how do we cultivate good action? Because let's go back, and we said we all given an oath upon birth that we should be righteous and not rashoyim. So how do we do that? So, okay, we have two different souls. Okay, animal soul and godly soul. Okay. When we try and engage the godly soul, or when we try and engage our beings involved in life, we know that anything that's going to manifest into action has to start first in thought. So when we did chapter 3 of Tanya, we were talking about the passage of how an idea moves from chokhmah to bina to da'as, from inspirational or a moment of understanding or a intuitive hit, or what people call a download or an epiphany, that things move from that spot, from that kind of awakening or arousement in the brain. And then that idea has to sort of land, and it lands in an aspect of our consciousness called bina, where we extrapolate on that idea and give it length and we give it breadth. We try to work out how that idea can apply in our lives. And then that extrapolation of an idea, of an inspiration, of an understanding, of a widening of cognition in some way, that's going to lead to da'as. And da'as means that we take what we've understood and we take what we've learned and we put it into action. And we bring that understanding and we bind it to some kind of impetus to bring it out and bring it forth. And then we spoke about the fact that Chokhmah, Bina, and Das are kind of the Chokhmah and Bina are kind of the parents, and Das is the result, but that all the emotions of a human being, all the emotions are the products of the parents. So Bina's like the mommy, we said in Tanya, and the midot, the emotions that we feel, are the children from the chokhmah connecting to the bina, resulting in some kind of idea that we can connect with and bond with, and it's real for us. And then from that, we birth the midot, and we birth the emotions, and hopefully those emotions are healthy and good emotions that encourage us and that inspire us to do the right thing. And so what are the right things that the good emotions inspire us to do? So hopefully, if we've put the right things in the chokhmah, and it's processed correctly in the bina, and it's come forth in the dart, then we're going to cultivate basically a whole lot of emotions, let's say 7 emotions, because chesed, gevura, tiferet, netzach, hod, yesod, and malchut, they all going to be hopefully either emotions that open us to loving Hashem more, and therefore wanting to do what he wants us to do, which means we're going to be inspired to do the 248 positive commandments, or they're going to be healthy emotions that are going to make us want to recoil, withdraw, contract away from doing anything that Hashem would not want us to do. So what we've done in the Tanya is sort of set up a basis of how we can be motivated in our Torah, in the right emotions that are going to bring us to the right actions. And the Tanya in chapter 3 was very specific in saying there are no babies without parents, and there are no emotions, the right emotions, for example, love of Hashem and fear of Hashem, without parents. And then we've spoken already a couple times that if we want the right emotions, we have to cultivate the right contemplations. And the Tanya even spoke about meditating on how great Hashem is, how he fills all the worlds, how he surrounds all the worlds. And we even said there's 2 different things. He fills everything that can be filled. In other words, every container. If you think about the rain, and it's raining in many parts of the country right now, Hashem's goodness and kindness and light fills all the containers like rain would fill into a bucket. And at the same time, it also surrounds all the containers. So it surrounds all of creation. It's in the in-between spaces. Hashem's light is in the in-between spaces, and it's also in all of the created objects. So it's filling all of the worlds, and it's surrounding all of the world. So, and we cultivate the right emotions to love Hashem, do the positive commandments, and refrain from doing the 365 negative commandments. So that's where we're up to till today. Now, what chapter 4 is going to say is that we've said actually that the soul of a person, the way it operates, it gets inspired. We have the Chokhmah, Bina, Das aspect, and then it manifests into emotions aspect. But then it starts to talk about something new, which is that every soul has 3 garments. And the 3 garments that every soul has are the garments of thought, speech, and action. And it's going to say a very interesting thing. What it's going to say, which is radical for the Tanya, radical for Jewish thought, what the Tanya says. And that is that when we engage with Torah and we take the garments of our thought to understand Torah, and our speech to speak about Torah, and our mouth to speak about Torah, thought, speech, and our hands and our legs and our body parts to do Torah, we actually bond with Hashem more intimately than by even going into the next world, the world hereafter, Gan Eden, if you want to call it, or Olam Haba, when our soul is divested from our body and we go off into the better world, you would think that that's when we expose to the light of the Ein Sof, and then we would be so blissful that that would be the best thing that a soul could experience, to be basking in the light of the Infinite One. And the Tanya says something very radical. It says, actually, that's not the case. Because when you're in this world and you take the garments of your soul, your speech, your thought, your speech, and your action, and you wrap those garments, or you invest those garments in thinking about Torah, talking about Torah, doing Torah, you're not just contemplating godliness, but you're bonding and becoming one with God himself, because God and his mitzvahs are one. So when you're doing a mitzvah, when you're talking about Torah, Hashem and his Torah are one. The mitzvot are manifestations of God's essence. So you and God become one. Whereas when you pass on after 180 years and your soul goes to the better world, the best your soul can do is appreciate godliness and look at it from afar in a way, or even a little bit close, looking at the divine light and getting appreciation of what that divine light can illuminate in your own understanding, but you're not bonding to God himself. It's a more from a hierarchy of godly experience, your experience on earth in a body, actually doing a mitzvah. You are bonding and binding with God as one. Whereas when you're in the world to come and the lights are turned on very bright and you see things with the great wisdom, you are still not bonding completely with the essence of God. So this is a very radical idea, because in many teachings they stress the wonderment, they stress, getting to the world to come, and we earning schusim for the world to come, the world to come, the world to come. And the Zohar says, better is 1 hour of teshuvah and good deeds in this world, when you are truly one with God, than all of the life of the world to come, which is incredible. It's the power of a mitzvah, that when we do a mitzvah, we invest the garments of our soul, our thought, our speech, or our action, or two of the three, or three of the three, or one of the three, and we actually connect to God himself. So, which is superior than us going into the world to come and appreciating the light of God, because nothing higher than doing a mitzvah. So you're probably familiar with this concept. I'm sure you've heard it before, and it's summarized by the Rebbe's saying, Maisa hu ha'ikar. The most important thing is the deed, because that's what changes reality. All the contemplations, all the understanding, all the beautiful feelings are not as effective as an action of visiting someone who's ill, putting a penny in a pushka, for you planting a seed in the ground, saying a bracha upon eating it. Action is what really is going to change us, refine us, and change the world. So that's really what chapter 4 is about, and we can go inside and look at it in the text. But I want to ask you if you have any questions at this point. Dina Bracha, seeing that you're the main participant right now, if you have any questions. Okay, so that, what I've said up until now, is a summary of chapter 4, but now we're going to go inside and look at it in the actual text. And so let's see how that's going to be, looking at it in the actual text. And here we go. So in addition to the 10 faculties of the soul discussed in chapter 3, every divine soul, every nefesh elokis, possesses 3 garments. and they are thought, speech, and action. And they find expression in the 613 commandments of the Torah. Now, Mitzvoth, translated as commandment, is a bad translation, because it's really 613 points of connection. Tzavta in Aramaic, I think, means connection. So let's just see if that's the word. So it's not commandments. Instead of saying commandments, we could say connections. So, yeah. The Aramaic root savsa. Savsa means connection. Okay. So, for when a person actively fulfills all the precepts which require physical action, whether it's putting on tefillin or doing tzitzis, which the Tanya uses two examples that for women we don't do those things, and with his power of speech, when he occupies himself or herself in speaking about the mitzvahs and the laws governing their fulfillment, and with his power of thought, when he comprehends everything that he's able to comprehend in all the levels of the Torah, pshat, remez, drosh, and sod, etc., then all of his soul's 603 organs are clothed in the 613 commandments of the Torah. So there's a very beautiful idea in Tanya here that every mitzvah, and I've never seen a table connecting the mitzvahs to the organs, but every organ of our physical body is connected to a mitzvah, and the 613 organs somehow connected to the 613 mitzvahs. So our physical body is meant to be involved and expressing itself through Torah and through mitzvahs, which is a very beautiful thing. And then the chokhmah, the bin, and the da'at, the intellectual faculties of the person involved when he's trying to understand Torah. Then, and then we spoke, like I said, the midot, especially the emotions of awe and love of Hashem, and all of their offshoots and ramifications get clothed in the fulfillment of the commandments that we do with deed and with word. So, and it even says that the study of Torah is equivalent to all of the commandments. So when we're speaking Torah and we're thinking Torah and we're involved in Torah, we're involving our sort of physical self, our whole self, in this experience of Torah. But more so, this Torah is going to connect us to bonding with God, and we're going to see that in a minute. So it says here that all of a Jew's positive observance of the positive commandments stem from the feeling of love, and that's how we're doing it, because we're motivated by wanting to connect to Hashem. That's the way to do it, through the 248 positive commands. These commandments of Hashem are also called the organs of Hashem, avarin de malka, the organs of the king of the universe. So each mitzvah is, in a way, like if we think of our own body parts, they're part of us. We can't separate our arm, for example, from the rest of us. So the mitzvahs are, in a way, Hashem's body parts, which sounds kind of weird. But when we grab onto a mitzvah, we're actually grabbing onto a part of God himself. And we're connecting to God himself through these organs of the king, which are the 613 mitzvahs. And whether it's from a love of Hashem that's making us do a mitzvah, or the fear of Hashem, which is making us step back from not doing one of the negative commandments, it's the same thing that we're doing or we're not doing, but in any event, by fulfilling these commandments that are points of connection with Hashem, we connecting to his very being. And then it says, when it comes to not doing what Hashem has asked us not to do, from the point of view of Vayira, that's the 365 negative commandments, it says that because we love Hashem so much, we're going to hate everything that he hates. So we're going to hate anything that's connected to the Sitra Achra or the Klipot or the negative energies of in the world. And we don't want to, anything Hashem hates, we also hate. And our connection to him is going to make us want to stay away from all of those things. And now here is this very special part where it says, these garments of the soul, these three garments deriving from the Torah and his commandments, though they are called merely garments of the nefesh, the ruach and the neshama, nevertheless their quality, the quality of the garments of the Torah and his commandments, are higher than the actual neshama itself. So this is kind of interesting. What does this mean? This needs to be clarified. We just said, or early at the beginning of chapter 4, we said that thought, speech, and action are the garments of the soul. But those garments can wrap around the king's organs, so to speak, the king's arms, the king's legs, the king's body. Using those garments, we can actually embrace the king and become part of him, because he and his mitzvot are one. What the Tanya is saying is the garments in a way are even higher than the actual soul itself, because they help us to merge with the king, become one with the king. Let's read it. It sounds so strange that I'll read it again. Now these three garments, v'hinei shlosha levushim elu me haTorah u'mitzvotecha af shenikraim levushim lenefesh ruach and neshama. Even though the thought, speech, and action are just garments of the soul, but nevertheless their quality, the quality of the garments of the Torah and its commandments, is higher and greater than that of the actual nefesh, ruach, and neshama themselves. So, im kol zeh gavha v'gadla ma'alatam le'ein kates v'sof al ma'alat nefesh, ruach, u'neshama atzman. So, in other words, when we bond with Hashem through doing a mitzvah, the connection is without separation. We become part of God, because God and his Torah are one, God and his mitzvahs are one. Otherwise, and so our garments are in a way higher than the neshama itself. The garment is higher than the actual neshama itself. Why? Kamo shekatuv b'zohar, like it's explained in the Zohar, d'oraita, v'kadosh d'oraita v'kudusha b'richu kula chad, that God and his Torah are completely one. And when you bond with God through his mitzvahs and his through Torah, you're bonding with God himself. Perush, this means D'oraita, hi chokhmato v'rotzono shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvodo uv'atzmo kula chad. Because Hashem, the Torah, is the wisdom and will of the Holy One, blessed be He. The wisdom of Torah expresses God's wisdom, its practical applications, its laws, etc., whether or not something is kosher or not. It's expressing his will, and it's one with his glory and his essence. Why? Kihu hayodea v'hu amada v'chule. Because God is the knower, the knowledge, and the known, like we said in chapter 2, quoting Rambam. that Rambam explained. We can't separate God from from his Torah, just like we can't separate God as the one who's knowing, the knowledge, and what is known. It's all God. You can't separate one part from him from another part of him. And now the Tanya is going to say something very interesting. So then you're saying that when I do Torah and Mitzvahs, and I learn Gemara, or I learn Halacha, I'm connecting to God, who's so infinite. How can it be? Halacha is very specific and connected to details. And in the Gemara, they're arguing about minutiae. How can an infinite God be so connected to finite details and rules? And then the Tanya is going to say that that's part of God's greatness, is he can be infinite and also connected to the finite rules that are relevant in halacha, or relevant, let's say, in the study of Gemara, or relevant. The details can be part of God's infiniteness. Now, because we have computers, we know that if we send an email and it's got an extra dot, it's not going to reach its destination. So too in halacha, the details are important. And what the Tanya is going to tell us now is that Hashem can be Ein Sof. He can have infiniteness. No thought can apprehend him. And everything about him, his will and his wisdom, is infinite and unfathomable. There's no way we can possibly understand anything, really. He's just way above. But at the same time, we say that Hashem, as great as he is, he has a level of something called humility. What do you mean, humility? So here in the Tanya, the humility is that as great as he is, he can limit himself to the finiteness of the actual rules that are found in halacha and rules that are found in Torah. So he's infinite, but he's humble. What does that mean? He compressed his will and wisdom into the 613 commandments of the Torah and their laws. So this could seem, wow, he's so infinite. How could he be so finite? So that's one of God's amazing capacities. He can be infinite and finite at the same time. He can be all-knowing, all-encompassing, filling all the worlds, and at the same time, he is he can be restricted and confined to specific details, which is kind of like a cool trick that he can do both of those things at the same time. So, and he's found in a finite way in the Torah, in the Nevi'im, and in the Ketuvim, in those very details. And so his will and wisdom are contained in the explaining of these and in the trying to understand all the agadas and the midrashim. It's all part of Hashem's greatness being compressed and confined in the specifics. And it says in the Tanya, in all of these did Hashem compress his will and wisdom, so that every neshama, or even the lower level souls of Ruach and Nefesh that are in a human body, can be able to grasp on to all of these things with our intellect. And so that we can, in order that the Nefesh or the Ruach and the Neshama can fulfill and learn in speech, action, and thought. So when we connect to Torah, we clothe ourselves and our 10 faculties in all these garments, thought, speech, and action. And therefore, Torah has been compared to water. For just as water descends from a higher level to a lower level, so too does Torah descend from a place of great glory in its source down into a place where we can apprehend it, and we can engage with it, and we can connect with it. And so let's see if so I think that I want to stop there because there's a little more, but I don't know if I want to do more, because I think or we can do more. Let me see. So so should we do more? Let's see. We've said a lot of things already. Should we do more? Should we do more? Dina Bracha, you can send me a text if you want, and I can see what you think, because you can't answer me. So let's see. Okay, you know what? I see that this is really going to talk about what I said already. So let's do it. Here. Okay, so what I started off saying earlier is that even in the world to come, no matter what we can understand, basking in the radiance of God's light in the world to come, it doesn't compare to mitzvahs in this world. So let's just see that. So it says, so it is written, Hashem is my rock in whom I take refuge. And it is further written, as with the shield, Hashem will surrounds him, meaning that his will and his wisdom that are clothed in Torah are clothed in the Torah and its commandments. So that's what we've said. And that's why, getting to this point, it says in the Zohar, 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world is better than the whole of the world to come. So this is going to kind of repeat what I said. For the reward in the world to come consists of enjoying the radiance of the divine presence. It is the pleasure derived from comprehension of godliness. Like you could say, wow, now I understand everything that happened to me in my life, and I understand everything that happened to everyone I know. I'm having this incredible awareness, like the lights got turned on. But no created being, even a spiritual being of the highest realms, like an angel, or souls that are no longer in the body, can comprehend any more than a glimmer of the divine light. No matter how much we're basking, it's just, compared to the light of God, it's still a glimmer. That's for which reason the reward of the soul in the world to come is referred to as the radiance of the divine presence. V'lachein nikra b'shem ziv hashchina. It's like a radiance. It's a ziv, like a spark, a radiance. It's no more than a remote gleam of the divine light. But as for the essence and glory of Hashem, blessed be He, no thought, no matter how elevated that thought is, can apprehend Him. Only when it clothes itself in Torah and mitzvahs can a soul grasp and clothe itself in God Himself. Because, like we've said, Torah and the Holy One, blessed be He, are one and the same. The Oraita, v'kadusha barichu kula chad. Hashem and His Torah and His mitzvahs are one. And that's the best and the highest way to connect to Hashem, not through being a soul outside of a body, but being a soul in a body doing material things. And it's only the material things that man's intellect grasps when studying Torah. So it says, although the Torah has been clothed in lowly material things, and it's only these material things that man's intellect grasps when we're studying Torah, but it is by way of an illustration, like one who embraces a king. whether we embrace, it doesn't matter the degree of his closeness and attachment to the king, whether he embraces him when the king is wearing one robe or many robes, because the king is in those mitzvahs. So when the king embraces one with his arm, though he's dressed in his robes, let's say, his right hand embraces me. And that's Torah called the right hand, because Torah was given by Hashem's right hand, and Torah is related to the attribute of chesed and water. So basically what we've been saying, as I did in the beginning in the synopsis, is just to explain from the Tanya's point of view how precious our opportunity is in this actual physical world to do Torah and mitzvahs, and in that way we connect and are bonded with Hashem more intimately than possible without any other thing that we can do. Even being in Shemayim, being in Gan Eden, we will not be as closely connected to Hashem as we will be by doing a mitzvah. So that is very amazing. So I'll just read a little Hasidic thought, and then we'll close for tonight. There is a vast difference between being one with God as opposed to being close to him. You might be extremely close to your best friend, your spouse, or your child, but ultimately you are two distinct people with different interests. Your arm, on the other hand, is totally one with you. It never has to decide whether it wishes to go along with your decisions, and it will never betray you. Your soul is a child of Hashem. It is also one of Hashem's lovers, so to speak, but it is not one with him. But a mitzvah, on the other hand, is a limb of God. It's part of him, so to speak. So when your garment of thought, speech, or action does a mitzvah, that garment actually becomes one with God's very self, so to speak. So I think we did say this very clearly, and I hope it inspires you in your mitzvahs. And any comments, questions, or queries, please text me or email me to brachami@gmail.com, or text me if you have my phone number. Thank you so much for joining me for Chapter 4 of Tanya, and have a good night.